Om Shri Sai Ram, Gita Vahini by Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba, Chapter 2, Complete Surrendership, Sharanagati Vritti. It is appropriate to name the first chapter as Arjuna Gita rather than Krishna Gita. Overcome by Shokam or sorrow and Moham, attachment, Arjuna turns away from war and keeps aside his weapons. He is dejected in his chariot, halted between the two opposing forces. He turns this way and that, puzzled and perturbed. He surveys the faces of his kith and kin and is possessed by deep sorrow and grief, thereby slipping his famous bow, Gandivam, from his grasp. He is too weak to stand. His mind wanders into the dictates of dharma karmas or righteous actions, etc. of the Purva Mimamsa school of thought. He swears he will not engage in fighting. When Sanjaya reported this to the blind king and the king of ignorance, Dhritarashtra, he was overjoyed, for he thought that the war which triggers the hope would be subsided. He had neither Duradrishti or foresight nor Divya Drishti, mystical supernatural vision or intelligence. So he felt happy that his dream had come true without much bother. But Sanjaya, who had Divya Drishti, felt within himself, "Foolish king, what is this insane joy which is affecting him? And the Lord is himself on the side of the Pandavas. How can this king's wicked plan succeed?" Then he pictured to himself the ghastly consequences of Arjuna jumping into the fray. But Arjuna had teardrops falling down his cheeks out of Kripavesha. There were whirlpools in his eyes. He was experiencing unimaginable distress. Even the Lord Krishna could not bear the sight. He could not remain silent. He felt the pulse beat of Arjuna and diagnosed the malady. He knew in a trice that the malady of moha or the delusion caused by false evaluation was not skin deep, but had penetrated his three bodies, the Sthula, the Sukshma, and the Karana. The pity that enveloped Arjuna was not genuine, he saw, for genuine pity will be endowed with Devi Sampati or divine elevating impulses and motives. It will not discard the orders of the Lord. It was really mamakaram or attachment under the wheel of kripa or pity. So the Lord endeavored to unveil. So the term used here to describe the condition of Arjuna in the Gita was Kripaya Vistum, meaning the one who was possessed by pity. Just as Bhuta Pretas or the evil spirits or ghosts enter into a person, Arjuna was also possessed by a ghost called Kripa. However, there is no need to entertain any fear, for he was Lord Krishna. For he has Lord Krishna by his side. What can any bhuta or evil spirit do to one who is the Lord of all bhutas? On his side, Vaidyo Narayano Hari. The Lord Narayana is the supreme doctor. Narayana himself took up the role of the doctor for Arjuna. How lucky was Arjuna! Even the dukkham or grief, if it is of the right kind, when such grief leads to good prapati, until the 11th shloka of the second chapter, it is the story of the despondency and sorrow of Arjuna, the effect of the ghost possessing him. That is why, till the 10th shloka, of the second chapter of Sankhya Yoga, it can be treated as Arjuna Gita. The Amritopadesham, or the immortal teaching of Lord Krishna, begins from the 11th shloka of Sankhya Yoga. In fact, the Bhagavad Gita starts from this point. The first chapter is the description of Arjuna's extreme state of delusion born of tamaguna, or the ignorance and dullness of intellect. Sanjaya described in detail all the traits of that tamaguna to Dhritarashtra. Krishna does not interfere or interrupt in this episode. He acted only as a Sakshi Bhutam, or the witness. When at last Arjuna refused to fight, when he confessed that he had lost all sense of right and wrong, when he prayed that Krishna should teach him the way that will solve the problems best, then Krishna came forward and said, Arjuna, how could this miserable shade of cowardice overtake you now when you have been clear and bright all along? This is quite unbecoming to the hero you are. The word Arjuna means he is of the pure, unblemished character, isn't it? Why then this untimely grief? Battle is imminent. The war clouds have gathered in groups and are thundering aloft. The foes in front are waiting the moment when they could jump into the fray. They have heaped countless injustices and cruelties on you so far, and now they've got ready to seize the empire that must come to you as of right. You have so far borne all the agony they have poured over you without stirring even an iota away from truth. You have fulfilled all the conditions they imposed, and you have passed through the years that prescribed for your exile. In spite of all this, the attempts of pacifism were futile. We have yielded as much as we could. Everything was in vain. Now, war is the only method by which the eyes of the wicked-minded, arrogant Duryodhana with ill conduct can be opened to his own iniquities. This war was decided on after long deliberation. As you know, this is not a hasty resolution taken in a fit of anger. Responsible elders have gathered and weighed the pros and cons in all respects and come to the conclusion that resort to arms is inevitable. You and your brothers approved all this and appreciated the decision. You have been preparing for this battle with enthusiasm since then. In fact, you too have been immersed in it. How wrong is it for you now to turn back? Why this cowardice? This war has not pounced on you in a trice. You have been collecting the wherewithal since long time. Remember how you struggled and starved and lived on roots and fruits of the forest in order to win the Pashupata Astram from Lord Shiva. How you went as far as the Loka of the Lord of Gods Indra in order to win celestial arrows for this battle. After completing Aranyavasam, or the exile of 12 years into the forest, and Agyatavasam, that is 1 year of living incognito, you thought that the moment of destiny for the annihilation they deserved has come for the wicked Kaurava brood. Your long dark night of misfortune had come to an end with the sound of war drums, but now you have started this morning song. Why this ominous note? Which Shastra lays down this attitude? You belong to that Kshatriya, warrior clan which upholds Dharma as its breath. Yours is the wealth of Shaurya, prose, Dhairya, courage, and Parakrama, or the valor, but you are overpowered by this strange and untimely Vairagya, or detachment, which is pathetically out of place. Oh my dear, This cowardice brings shame on you and even on your far-famed forefathers. Fie on you! You have dragged down the entire Kshatriya race into disgrace. War is the royal road for a Kshatriya, the road which leads to heaven. How can you escape infamy if you withdraw from the field now? You have earned the title Vijayam, ever victorious by the prowess of your arm. Do not tarnish the reputation you have won by a lifetime of effort. Give up this meanly ignorance or moham. Listen to me. Remind yourself of what happened at Amravati, abode of the gods. You disregarded the approaches of the divine damsel Urvashi. She wanted a son through you, and you immediately replied, "Take me as your son." That revealed you as an incomparable hero and a Jitendriya, the one who has won over the senses. The curse that she spelt on you in a discomfiture helped you at the court of King Virata to pass off the Agyatavasam as an inanch, is it not? Where has that heroism gone? Tell me, how has this pusillanimity come over such a stalwart? Oh, being such a coward, you came and disturbed me in sleep with your request for help in this battle, only to show your intimidating timidity and run away like this? Am I to help you thus? Have I to watch while you are fleeing? Enough is enough. Pluck this moham by the roots. Reduce this durlabham or weakness into ashes. Become a hero again. Thus exhorted Krishna. Krishna uses 4 words in this context. 1. Kashmalam or ignorance, Anaryajastam, character that is harmful to the divine nature in each. Ashvargyam, quality that obstructs the pleasures of celestial planes, and Kirti Karam, quality that obstructs the pleasures like name and fame on this earthly plane. These inspiring words that will make the blood of any true Kshatriya boil had a tremendous effect on Arjuna. The frost of Tamoguna, which had overwhelmed Arjuna, began to melt away little by little with the sharp sun rays like words of the Lord. The Rajoguna returned and Arjuna found words to ask. Katham, how? That term reveals profound meaning. It shows that the Gita expounds not merely what has to be done, but even how it has to be done. This has to be clearly understood. Again, Arjuna asks Krishna, "O Madhusudana, listen to my words. Those who are in the forefront of the battle line are all worthy of being worshipped by me. The great Bhishma took care of us when we lost a father and brought us up from childhood and shaped us into what we are. He is as a father to us, the grand old man of our clan. And what shall I say of Drona? He loved me more than he loved his own son Ashwathama. I had all his love. He is the Guru who, through that love, took me as his favorite disciple and made me into the bowman that I am. Do you want me now to use the skill he taught to overthrow him? Is it right for a son of Bharat to do such a thing? In battle, we have to kill our enemies, is it not? Is it right for you to advise me to fight with fathers and teachers who deserve reverence? Moreover, you are disapproving of my refusal to fight in the battle and asserting that my failure to fight in the war will prevent me from entering celestial abodes. I cannot realize how heaven can be got through the killing of these revered gurus. If this principle prevails in this world, can anyone ever procure a guru in this world? Krishna, whatever you might say, rather than earning happiness and power By killing such revered gurus, I feel it is better to live on alms collected from door to door. Food won through killing such men is mixed with their blood, and I would prefer a meal obtained through beggary to that. Well, even if I give up all these qualms and fight, how can victory be counted upon, expecting victory to come to us? How can I resolve to slaughter these elders and lose both worlds? If by chance they win, then beggary for us is inevitable, is it not? Even if we win, it is as bad as losing it, for of what gain is victory if the price we pay is the destruction of kith and kin? We gain but grief, inconsolable for the rest of life. Krishna, I am at loss to solve this problem. My intelligence has deserted me. Being besieged with this imbecility, my nature has undergone a vast change. I do not know why. I cannot distinguish between right and wrong, dharma and adharma, righteousness and unrighteousness. On one hand, my Kshatriya blood rises up in protest when you prod it so, and it is pushing me forward into battle. On the other hand, fear of becoming the murderer of these revered elders is pulling me back. I am helpless. As you are leading this chariot, lead me from within also and show me the way. Moreover, I am no more concerned with Praya Padartha or concerning only with sense, gratification or worldly prosperity. I crave for Shreya Padartha or spiritual happiness only, pleaded Arjuna. From that very moment, Krishna became the Guru and Arjuna the disciple. Arjuna prayed for that status and got it. Until Arjuna accepted this attitude of a learner, his antakarana was filled with dvesha buddhi. However, when he stood between the two opposing armed forces and saw Bhishma and Drona on the opposite sides front line, ready to battle, he was dejected. The hero had become a zero. The tendencies of Krishna and Arjuna were mutually opposite at that moment. Whatever Krishna was teaching as dharma, Arjuna argued that it was adharma. The reason for all this, if you carefully study the situation, is nothing but mamakaram or attachment, abhimanam or egoism, prama or knowledge is the viewpoint of Krishna, and Brahma or ignorance of Arjuna. He suffered from ignorance because of delusion caused by attachment. Then he realized that mamakaram or attachment and dvesham or aversion are not conducive to jnanam or wisdom. He surrendered his judgment to the Lord and saved himself. He said, Madhava, I am unable to discriminate. I am just an instrument in the hands of the Lord and act as per your instruction. Recognizing one's error is the first excellence of a good disciple. Only the foolish will feel that they know all and suffer from the dire evil of a swelled head, that is ahamkaram or egoism. Jai Sai Ram.
साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ